Family Focus Forum, organized by Belize Action, was well attended last night in Belmopan. The forum was held at the UB Auditorium to discuss the homosexual agenda in Belize and the upcoming court date where UNIBAM is suing the government to have sodomy laws removed from Belize's books. Those at the head table spoke on UNIBAM's ultimate goal, ramifications for the country, and the Belizean people's response to the agenda. Pastor Scott Sturm of Belize Action started by saying that UNIBAM and its lawyers are using Belize's constitution to try and impose foreign values.
He will be able to walk right into a Belize courtroom and he will try to use our constitution against our laws to change that to where they can impose these foreign values upon our nation. It's one of the points that we are driving home very strongly in this issue. These are foreign imposed values that the overwhelming majority of the people in the nation of Belize do not want in our country. Okay?
Sturm says while foreign money is being thrown behind UNIBAM's efforts, Belize needs to understand that the ultimate goal is not just the removal of the sodomy law.
The end goal of these technical adjustments to the law is same-sex marriage in Belize. Our sodomy laws stand in the way of them being able to have same-sex marriage in Belize. If they were to get that, and we have another law that is contradictory to that, the two laws are against each other. This has to be removed in order for them to move forward. They are also looking at enforcing a broad agenda of non-discrimination. Non-discrimination will turn into a very strong attack against the church or anybody else that speaks against them for that matter. They want their multi-gender message in your kids' school books, and it's already starting to show up there, folks.
Reverend Eugene Crawford is the head of the Evangelical Association in Belize, and he said the church has to be vocal in this matter as it is the church's God-given mandate.
We know that the preamble to our Constitution invokes the supremacy of God as the foundation for our Constitution and for our laws. And because of that, I'd like to start with a statement that says that any change, anything regarding our Constitution, and in this respect, what with the subject matter, must start and end with the Belizean people. We do have a say.
That's right.
We will never just lay down dead and cause people of other persuasions on this matter to come and dictate what will happen. And that is the awesome responsibility of the church. We are looking at this matter, and we are trying to rally the entire church body in Belize.
Next to speak was Louis Wade, who was asked to discuss the scientific angle of the arguments for and against homosexuality. Wade said that science has not proven anything in favor of the argument that homosexuals are born that way.
Science is not in conflict with the Bible on the issue of homosexuality. From the early 1900s, science has been looking into the problem of whether or not homosexuals were born that way. So there has been at least 70 to 80 years of solid scientific research. From a scientific point of view, your brain processes information, tells you how to think. Genetic research, this was the biggest bummer for the homosexual community, because there was what was called the mapping of the genes. There are 23 pairs of genes in every human being. 23 come from your ma, 23 come from your pa. And somewhere in there, if homosexuality and you're born that way, it would have been there. My goodness, when they map the whole thing, the homosexuals asked them, please map it over, or they might have missed something. Since the mapping and the remapping, they have done a total map of the X chromosomes, of the Y chromosome, which what determine whether you are male and female, and science has said we have not been able to find the gene. It does not exist.
Attorney Arthur Saldivar presented on the legal aspect of the case.
Criminal Code reads, every person who has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any person or animal shall be liable to imprisonment for 10 years. Criminal Code is what we consider a subsidiary legislation. It exists because the Constitution gives it legitimacy. It cannot exist without the Constitution. The Criminal Code, as any law or compendium of laws, exists to either preserve, promote, or protect something that is important or fundamental to the Belizean people. In this particular regard, it's the preservation of the Christian virtues enshrined within the Constitution.
One medical argument used by homosexuals has been that stigma and discrimination against gays have caused an increase in HIV in that population.
In the countries where they could do what they want, and they are the freest, like UK and United States, even though HIV and AIDS rates is going down in, how they call it, heterosexuals, you will notice that in homosexual communities, in the freest countries in the world, HIV rate still going up in homosexuals. And you want to know why? According to their website, they love risky behavior.
The last presenter at last night's forum was Tom Sharp, a counselor presently working with CDF in Belize.
We need to retain what little laws we have that protect our children. We need to strengthen our weak laws and create new laws for greater safety. I would advocate increasing punishment for child sex offenders. You all have been aware in the last few weeks and months of the increased reports of sexual abuse in our communities. But I believe that now in Belize, the laws designed to protect children from sexual abuse are simply too loose and too vague. We've seen and heard in the past few weeks about the horrific violations that young male Belizeans have encountered at the hands of grown men. And what little protection these boys have under the law cannot be wiped off the books. Section 53 is their only protection at the moment, and it shouldn't be changed. Stronger and more specific laws are needed to protect the children of Belize. In my 23 years of counseling, the vast majority of my clients who struggled with homosexuality had been sexually abused as children. A few claimed they were born this way, but most acknowledged that the trauma and tragedy of being sexually abused as a child had profoundly distorted their trust, their understanding of a loving and healthy relationship, created massive confusion about their own sexual attraction. Now granted, we know that homosexuality and pedophilia are two separate things. A person who is gay is not necessarily a pedophile. But removing what little protection our children have under the law so that adults can experience sexual pleasure however they want is not okay. One aspect of being a mature and loving adult is that many times we have to put our needs and wants on the back burner to meet the needs of our kids and our family members and the powerless people in our society. This is mature love, is what the Bible tells us. So to put our children at further risk so that the small gay community in Belize can feel more comfortable in their relationships is not the right path for us to take.
The Supreme Court case is scheduled for December 5th, and Belize Action is planning a massive rally 2 days before in Belize City on December 3rd. For more information, you can go to belizeaction@gmail.com.